So I used to work night shift at this small hospital about 2 years ago, and out of everything that happened there, this is the one thing I still can't explain without getting anxious. I worked the front desk in the ER from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Most nights were dead quiet. A couple people would come in for minor stuff, ambulances every now and then, but after like 2 in the morning, the place felt almost empty, especially the older wing of the hospital. At night, it was just long hallways, fluorescent lights, buzzing, and random machine noises echoing everywhere. Usually I sat at the desk doing paperwork, answering calls, and watching security cameras when I got bored. One night around midnight, I noticed this janitor walking past the ER entrance pushing one of those big gray cleaning carts. I didn't think much of it at first because hospitals always have cleaning crews working overnight. The weird thing was, I had never seen this guy before. He was tall, probably mid-40s, wearing dark blue scrubs under a janitor jacket, gloves, a baseball cap, and a face mask, which honestly wasn't weird in a hospital, but something about him felt off immediately. He walked really slow. Not tired slow, just weirdly slow. Like he wasn't actually cleaning, just moving around. I remember watching him on the cameras for a few minutes because he kept passing the same hallway over and over. He'd stop outside random patient rooms for like 10 seconds at a time, then keep going. At first, I figured maybe he was new and didn't know where stuff was, but after like an hour, I realized I had never actually seen him clean anything. No mopping. No taking trash out. Nothing. Just walking around with the cart. At around 1:30 a.m., I got up to grab coffee from the staff room and saw him in person for the first time up close. He was standing completely still at the end of the pediatric hallway, not doing anything, just staring toward the rooms. I remember slowing down because I thought maybe someone inside a room had called him over or something, but no. He was just standing there with both hands on the cart handle. Then he turned and looked directly at me. I can't explain why, but the way he looked at me made my stomach drop instantly. His eyes looked exhausted, but at the same time, really focused. Like he was studying me. I just gave him that awkward little, "Hey" nod people do at work, and kept walking. He didn't nod back, didn't say anything. He just watched me walk away. When I got back to the desk, I realized something else weird. None of the nurses interacted with him at all. Usually the cleaning staff talked with everybody. Nurses would joke with them, ask for supplies, whatever. But this guy would walk right past people, and nobody even acknowledged him. At around 2 a.m., I called upstairs to ask one of the nurses if we had a new janitor working nights. There was this pause, and she goes, "What janitor?" I told her the guy with the cleaning cart. She said she hadn't seen anybody. That immediately freaked me out because I had been watching this dude on cameras for almost 2 hours. So I opened the employee directory on the computer and searched the cleaning staff list. Nothing. No picture, no name matching him. Nothing. At that point, I started convincing myself I was overreacting. Maybe he was from another building, or maybe security already knew him. But then I noticed something that made everything worse. On one of the hallway cameras, he stopped walking and slowly turned his head directly toward the camera. Not toward the hallway, toward me. I swear to God it felt like he knew I was watching him. Then he smiled. Not normal smiling either. It was slow. Like he knew something I didn't. That's when I called the night supervisor. I tried to sound calm and just asked if there was a male janitor assigned overnight. And I still remember her exact words. "We don't have any male cleaners tonight." The second she said that, I felt cold all over. She told me to stay at the desk while she contacted security. So now I'm sitting there staring at the cameras waiting for security to show up, and this guy keeps moving through different floors of the hospital like he belongs there. At one point he disappeared into a restricted hallway that required badge access. No alarm went off, no locked door warning, nothing. A few minutes later, security finally arrived and started checking the floors, and this is the part that messed me up the most. While security was searching, I completely lost sight of him on the cameras. Like he vanished. Then maybe 30 seconds later, one of the guards radioed down asking if the janitor had a cart with him. I said yes. The guard went quiet for a second and said, "We found the cart." But the guy was gone. Security found the cleaning cart parked near a stairwell in the older pediatric wing. Inside weren't cleaning supplies. There were patient bracelets, children's clothes, a couple wallets, and underneath everything, taped inside the cart cabinet, a phone recording video. Nobody ever found the guy. The hospital never officially explained what happened, but after that night, security got stricter about checking employee badges. And for weeks after, every time I worked overnight, I kept expecting to see that cart roll past the cameras again. So back when I was doing rideshare full-time, I mostly drove nights because the money was way better. Airport runs, drunk people leaving bars, late-night workers, all that stuff. Honestly, after a while you get used to weird passengers, so it takes a lot to actually scare you. But this one ride genuinely messed with me. It happened around 2:40 in the morning. I was sitting outside a gas station waiting for requests when I got a pickup literally 2 minutes away. The pickup spot was this almost empty shopping plaza. Most of the stores were closed except for a laundromat and the gas station lights across the street. When I pulled up, I saw this woman standing alone near the sidewalk. She looked normal enough. Mid-20s maybe. Gray hoodie, jeans, wet hair like she'd been out in the rain. No luggage or purse or anything though, which I remember noticing immediately. She opened the back door, got in, and quietly said, "Hey." That was it. No small talk. No, "How's your night?" Nothing. I confirmed the address and started driving. At first, everything felt normal, just awkward quiet. But after maybe 5 minutes, I started noticing something that made me uncomfortable. Every time I checked the rearview mirror, she was already looking at me. Not out the window. Not at her phone. Just staring directly at me, and not in an angry way either. More like she was studying me or waiting for me to say something. I remember trying to laugh it off in my head because it sounded paranoid, but it started getting under my skin. Then she asked, "Do you usually drive alone this late?" Something about the way she said it bothered me immediately. I just kind of laughed and said, "Yeah, pretty much every night." She didn't respond after that. A few minutes later, I noticed the route was taking us farther away from the city into this older neighborhood with barely any streetlights. No cars around, no people outside, just dark houses and trees. Then the GPS said we had arrived. I pulled up in front of this house that was completely dark, like abandoned dark. Overgrown yard, broken blinds, no porch light, nothing. I looked at the address again because I honestly thought the app glitched. Before I could say anything, she leaned forward slightly and said, "Can you wait here for a minute? Someone's coming out." I didn't want to be rude, so I said, "Sure." Big mistake. We sat there in silence for maybe 30 seconds before I noticed movement inside the house. At first, I thought maybe it was just shadows from the trees, but then I saw it again. Someone was moving behind one of the windows. Then another shape walked past a different window. Then another. There were multiple people inside, and the weirdest part was the way they moved. Slow, like they were trying not to be seen. That's when my chest started tightening up. I remember putting the car into drive slightly just in case. Then the woman behind me said quietly, "Turn the engine off." I asked why, and she goes, "If they hear the car running, they won't come outside." The second she said that, every alarm in my body went off. I looked in the mirror again, and she was leaning forward now, way closer than before. I hadn't even heard her move. And she was smiling a little. Not normal smiling either. More like she knew something I didn't. I said, "You know what? I think I'm gonna head out." And the second I reached for the gear shift, one of the people inside the house suddenly appeared at the front window, just standing there, staring at the car. Then another figure walked up behind him, then another. I didn't wait to see more. I hit the gas immediately and sped out of there so fast, my tires actually screeched. And this is the part that still freaks me out. As I was driving away, I looked in the rearview mirror, expecting the woman to still be there. The back seat was empty. I slammed on the brakes thinking maybe she jumped out when I took off, but there's no way. The doors never opened. I would have heard it. I checked the app right after, and the ride had been canceled mid-trip. No name, no ride history, nothing. I contacted support the next day thinking maybe it was a glitch, but they told me there was never a completed pickup connected to my account during that time. To this day, I still don't know who that woman was or what those people were doing in that house. But I know one thing. If I had turned the engine off that night, I honestly don't think I'd be here talking about it. So, I used to work overnight at this 24-hour storage facility on the edge of town. Honestly, the job was mostly dead. I'd sit in this tiny office watching cameras, checking people in, and doing rounds every couple hours to make sure nobody was sleeping inside units or breaking into stuff. The place had these long rows of storage buildings with motion lights everywhere, and at night it felt creepy as hell. Especially when it was foggy because you could barely see past the next row of units. Most customers only came during the day, so anytime someone showed up after midnight, it immediately stood out. One night around 3 a.m., this older guy pulled up in a white van. I remember the van because it had no company logo, no plates on the front, and one of the headlights was out. The guy came into the office calm as could be and told me he needed to access his storage unit for work equipment. Nothing weird there. People did that sometimes. He signed in, gave me his unit number, and headed out. About 20 minutes later, I noticed on the cameras that he still hadn't opened the unit. He was just standing outside it, not on his phone, not unloading anything, just standing there in the dark next to the van. I zoomed the camera in, thinking maybe he was smoking or something, but then I realized he kept looking around like he was waiting for somebody. That already felt weird, but then something worse happened. Another car entered the property. No headlights. It just slowly rolled through the gate and stopped 2 rows over from where the guy was standing. The second car wasn't registered at the front office, which wasn't allowed. I watched the camera expecting the older guy to react, but he didn't seem surprised at all. He walked over to the car like he knew whoever was inside, then both vehicles killed their lights completely. At that point, I started getting nervous, so I grabbed the flashlight and decided to drive the golf cart over there just to see what was going on. As I got closer, I noticed both vehicles were parked between the storage rows, where cameras barely reached. I could hear people talking, but really quietly, like whispering. Then I heard something metal slam shut. Not a car door, a storage unit. I turned the corner with my flashlight and immediately froze. The older guy was standing there staring at me, and next to him were 2 other men I had never seen before. Nobody said anything for a few seconds. Then I noticed the storage unit behind them was open about a foot, and inside, there was somebody sitting in a chair. At first, I thought the person was tied up because they weren't moving at all. I remember the flashlight shaking in my hand while I tried to process what I was looking at. Then the older guy calmly stepped toward me and said, "You're not supposed to be back here." The way he said it scared the hell out of me because he sounded genuinely annoyed, not surprised, like I interrupted something. I immediately backed the golf cart up and said I was calling the police. The second I said that, one of the other guys started walking toward me fast. I took off before he even reached me. I drove straight back to the office, shaking so hard I almost crashed the cart, locked the doors, and called 911. While I was on the phone, I kept checking the cameras. All 3 men were moving quickly now, closing the storage unit, getting into the vehicles, leaving the property. And this is the part that still bothers me. Right before the white van exited the gate, the back door shifted open for a second when it hit a bump. There was someone inside. I only saw it for maybe 1 second on camera, but I swear there was a person lying in the back looking out through the gap. Police searched the property afterward, but by then, everybody was gone. The storage unit had been rented under a fake name with fake documents. And the chair inside the unit? Still bolted to the floor. I used to work alone at a 24-hour convenience store when I was 19, tiny place off the highway, mostly dead after midnight except for truck drivers and random people coming in for cigarettes or energy drinks. At first, I actually liked the job. I could wear headphones, stock shelves, watch movies on my phone when it got slow. The only bad part was working completely alone from midnight to 6 a.m. This whole thing started with one customer. He first came in around 3 in the morning one Tuesday. I remember him because he didn't act like normal customers at all. Most people grabbed their stuff and leave. This guy just wandered around the store slowly without really looking at anything. Mid-40s, maybe. Thin, glasses, dark hoodie, short beard. Nothing physically threatening about him. Honestly, if you saw him during the day, you probably wouldn't even remember him. He bought a bottle of water and stood at the counter for a couple extra seconds after I handed him the receipt. Not smiling, not talking, just looking at me. Then he goes, "Long shift?" I said, "Yeah, all night." He nodded slowly, like that answer meant something to him, then left. That should have been the end of it. But he came back the next night, and the next one. Always around the same time. At first, it just felt weird because he never really bought anything important. Sometimes gum, sometimes a drink. Once he walked around the store for almost 20 minutes and left without buying anything at all. The thing that started bothering me was how much attention he paid to small details. One night I came in wearing a different hoodie, and he immediately noticed. He goes, "No black hoodie tonight?" I laughed awkwardly because, yeah, I wore the black one almost every shift. Still, weird thing to notice. Then another night he said, "You changed the coffee machines around," which was true. We had literally moved them earlier that day. Again, not creepy by itself, but little comments like that kept happening. One night around 2:50 a.m., he walked up with a soda and casually said, "You closed the bathroom earlier on Thursdays now?" And that one genuinely made me pause because I had only started doing that like 2 weeks earlier after some guy trashed it. I remember thinking, how long has this dude been paying attention to me? After that, I started noticing him more too. Every time he came in, he'd spend most of the visit just watching me indirectly through shelves or the drink coolers. Not obvious enough to call him out, but enough that I noticed. Then things got worse. One night he walked in, looked outside through the front windows and said, "They finally fixed your headlight." I felt this immediate pit in my stomach because my headlight had been broken and I had literally fixed it the day before. That meant he recognized my car. I tried convincing myself maybe he just happened to notice it parked outside all the time, but after that, I started feeling nervous driving home. I'd check my mirrors constantly, take different routes sometimes. I never actually saw him following me, but I couldn't shake the feeling that he knew way too much about me for someone whose name I didn't even know. Then came the night that really messed me up. It was dead quiet, around 3:15 a.m., and he walked in like usual. He grabbed a sports drink and came to the counter. I rang him up without really looking at him. Then he said, "Your mom got into town today, right?" I swear my brain completely froze. My mom lived 3 hours away. She had shown up at my apartment that afternoon to surprise me for my birthday weekend. I hadn't posted about it, didn't tell coworkers, nothing. I just stared at him and asked, "What?" And he goes, "The silver SUV outside your apartment earlier, that was her, right?" I felt sick instantly, actually sick, because that meant he knew where I lived, and he had been there. He must have noticed my face because he suddenly smiled a little and said, "You look nervous." I remember stepping backward from the register without even realizing I was doing it, and the craziest part was he stayed completely calm the entire time. No anger, no threats, nothing dramatic. That almost made it worse. Before leaving, he picked up his drink and said, "See you tomorrow night." Then he walked out. The second he left, I locked the front doors and called my manager shaking. Police ended up checking the area but couldn't find him anywhere. And after I gave them the description, one officer asked me something that made everything even worse. He asked, "Did he ever tell you his name?" I said no. Then the officer told me they'd had complaints before about a guy matching that description hanging around workplaces late at night. Apparently he'd become obsessed with employees before, following routines, watching them leave work, learning personal details slowly over time, basically studying people until they realized too late they were being watched. I quit that job 3 days later. And for almost a year after, every time I got home at night, I'd sit in my car for a minute, checking the mirrors before getting out, because the scariest part wasn't that he threatened me, it was how normal he acted while he was doing it.